Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 2, Episode 9. It's called Try Try. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And I'm going to emphasize it on this one specifically, because even though we don't do spoiler-free sections for this show, I feel like this one in particular, because I think some people might still listen to the start of the review, because we typically go in order, so we don't, I intentionally don't go straight to the ending twist or whatever when I start talking about it. With this one, I feel like the actual premise of the episode isn't properly revealed until I'd say about halfway or so through the episode. It kind of has a little tease, but it doesn't really say what it is until then. I think I can't really give the premise of it without giving something that I think is relatively withheld in the episode until a certain point. So I'm emphasizing the spoilers on this one. So the premise of this is that we have our main character, Claudia, played by Kelly Burnbury, who I know from Pitch, and she was in that movie. Was it Date Night? The one with Jason Bateman and stuff.
I think you brought that up last week, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the name. I'm just second guessing the title. But she almost gets run over by a truck, and the guy pulls her off the road. It's Topher Grace playing a guy called Mark, and there's got a bit of chemistry. She's taking notes for her dissertation, and she's talking to herself, and after he walks away, she sort of jokingly says, also additional note, almost died, might have met my future husband. It is kind of this little jokey thing that's okay, so she felt a spark, whatever. But they both end up in the museum or the art gallery, and they kind of hit it off and they're talking. It's kind of like a meet cute bonding kind of thing. But the reveal halfway through, and this is really funny to me, because I don't know what I was talking about this on recently. I don't know if it was with you or Connor, but there was something recently where I said, when we were talking about a time loop concept, maybe it was in Edge of Tomorrow, maybe it was in something else, maybe it was something that wasn't time loop in itself, but the conversation came up. But I distinctly remember saying, wouldn't it be cool if there was a time loop episode where we followed someone who wasn't the main character, who's time looping? Yeah. I definitely said that, right, at some point?
Yeah, that was in our Edge of Tomorrow discussion.
Yeah. So the reveal about halfway through this episode, because there's these little things happen, you're thinking, can he read minds? Is he, can he predict the future slightly, or what's going on here? And it turns out about halfway through that he's actually going through a time loop, but we're introduced to it through her perspective, where she's not aware of the time loop, and he's already done this day hundreds of times. So that is the basic premise of the episode. So, Tara, what did you think of Try Try?
I liked it. I'm always hesitant to say that on these in the beginning. I do kind of like it.
I'm not going to bite you. I might tell you you're wrong in a minute, but I'm not going to bite.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm not usually the type that does this, but I figured it out pretty early. Like, there's a scene where he catches a bottle that was thrown.
Sure.
Like, I wonder if he's in a time loop, and this is like his version of the perfect date. Like,
I will give you. I don't have to admit this, but I'm going to do it. I didn't actually think about it that early. That's what it was. I wasn't thinking about that. I did kind of accidentally predict something else, though. Bizarrely, there wasn't really a prediction. It was actually just. So when he first saves her at the start, when she's about to walk into the road, and he pulls her back, and it immediately becomes this chemistry thing where they're clearly having a little meet cute moment. And in my head, not making a prediction, this is a personal thought I had, I was like, I don't know if I can buy Topher Grace as the likeable dude. He's a bit of a creep. And lo and behold, by the end of the episode, I thought it was perfectly cast. So
yeah, he's total creep.
So yeah.
But also, how when you watch it in Groundhog Day, it's very endearing because he's trying to be a better man, and we like Bill Murray so much. But from the perspective of Andie MacDowell, even when he tries to make the perfect date, she just says, this is all wrong. Everything's going too right. There's something wrong with this day. And you're not who you say you are. And there's no way you're the perfect man, and get the hell out. It doesn't work very well. And we get that same interaction from, her eyes basically. And it is it does kind of put a funk on the Groundhog Day scene when he's trying to get with Andie MacDowell. Just that is really creepy when you think about it.
There's definitely, because it kind of starts off by just exploring the perspectives of what this is and how it's kind of weird on one side. Obviously, it goes to a place after that where it's very clear his issues and very clear what it's saying. But we'll get into that later when we get to that part of the episode, because the episode does kind of break down into sections really nicely because of its premise. This is the best episode of the show so far.
Yeah.
That's I'm going to say it. This is a genuinely good episode.
Wow.
And it actually might be like the truest Twilight Zone feeling episode of the entire thing. It took a concept, it put a spin on it, one that I had specifically asked for just by chance not that long ago. And it added on. And the weird thing is I got to the end of this episode and I said to myself, this did the Me Too idea better than the episode that was much more clearly about Me Too.
That was basically called Me Too.
Yeah. This episode, I think, does it in a more nuanced way, in a way that introduces you to the idea, takes something that seems like it might be kind of sweet, but spins it and gives you the sort of darker side to it, and ultimately his refusal to accept that turns him into a creep. And then, I was at a point about 2/3 to this episode where I thought, I think I'm really liking this episode. And I think part of the why it feels like a classic Twilight Zone is because it's all set in one location as well. I think it actually benefited from just all essentially being in the museum and the street outside. But there was a moment about 2/3 through, I'm like, I think I actually really like this. Like, more than I've ever liked any of these episodes. And I thought, oh god, the ending, please don't ruin it. Please don't ruin it with the ending. And the ending,
I thought the ending was fine.
Maybe better than fine. It might have been pitch perfect for what the concept was. This was a good episode.
I can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm hearing.
It was a good episode.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't. Maybe you'll have to convince me on pitch perfect. I liked the ending. Like, I thought it was. I thought it was good that, basically she wins, even though she doesn't know she wins, but she does. I mean,
I'm not saying the episode is perfect. I'm saying for what the episode does for the previous 90%, that the ending is pitch perfect. There's so many reasons why this episode I think works really well. Is that despite my initial thoughts of Topher Grace looking and sounding like a creep, and I think, I'll be honest, I think Predators has a lot to do with that. But
oh, Predators?
Yeah.
Is he in that movie?
Yeah, he's in that.
Oh, I only watched it once and I didn't really like it.
Yeah, it's not that good. But he's in there and he kind of turns out to be a bastard in that. So maybe that's just coloured my opinion of Topher Grace. But despite that, there is actually a portion of this episode where it's doing the before sunrise. I don't know if you've seen those movies, but the before sunrise,
I'm familiar though.
Just two people having a conversation and clearly a romance is blossoming. It actually does that fairly well to a point where by the time they're lying in the canoe and they're having this sweet moment together, where I'm like, they're kind of selling me on this a little bit. I'm actually feeling the romance here between them. And then, as stuff's revealed, it reveals the time loop aspect, and it's like, oh, that's actually really neat. He's having a time loop. We're not following it from his perspective, though. We're following it from hers. So this is a really neat twist on how that story is told. And then where it goes at the ending, it has a message beyond everything else. It has an actual ramifications message. And by the time it got to... This is the thing that really sold me on the ending, is that when it went over to Jordan Peele to make his little outro speech, his little monologue at the end, it's by far the one out of the entire show that made me go, what he just said added to this episode. It gave the ending more context, and I liked it more because of what he said.
Okay.
And I've not thought that about any episode of this show.
No, you have not.
About none of them.
Wow, way to go. Let me check here. Writers of the show. No. That's not it.
Alex Rubens is the one you're looking for.
Alex Rubens, thank you. There's just a bunch of developed by.
Yeah. So you get the created by, then the 3 developed bys, and
Jen McGowan. I mean, this one doesn't really come off as too Twilight Zone-y. Maybe in like the initial beginning parts.
The director you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Topher Grace has a lot to do with it too. Like, he is, you can't help but like see him as a little bit smarmy. And I don't know why either, because I really loved that 70s show when I watched it, and I loved his character in that show. But something about who he plays now, maybe it's since like Spider-Man 3, maybe I just can't forgive him for it. I don't know. It's either that or I know the Black Mirror episode he was decent in.
Yeah, I think both leads are good. The direction is not as obnoxious as most of these episodes. I didn't feel it doing a lot of stupid angles and close-ups just for the sake of like, hey, look how weird we're being.
You're right. I mean, there was some on the mask, I guess.
Yeah, but it was very restrained, which I think helped a lot. So this episode actually kind of answered a lot of the problems that we've been having. Not that I'm hopeful for the next one because it's an anthology, so there's no reason why the next one is going to benefit from any of this.
It's surprising that it's rated pretty low on IMDb as far as the episodes go.
I have a feeling that that's more to do with a lot of type of people who are upset at the subject matter.
Oh, because it's a woman versus man thing.
Yes. I feel that there's an anti-SJW to call it something sentiment maybe that's.
But this one is done
that.
like really well. Like it's, we see the different personalities of his character come out. Like he says he's doing this all of this for her, but he's doing it all for him. Like he needs her to love him genuinely. And it goes to a dark place.
Let's dig through kind of how it gets to that point, because obviously there's a lot of like he just happens to like know or have a lot of the same favorite things, which okay, big coincidental, but maybe that's a sweet thing. But it goes on, and then once he actually reveals the time loop thing, and he tries to prove it to her by like telling her all this information that she's told him on the previous loops. Your best friend, this was that, your first kiss was there, this was that, and blah blah blah. And all these different things. Even the fact that he spells his name with a C is because she had a cross and a mark with a C once when she was a kid. And all these things. She's clearly a little weirded out by the concept. And so he's not even really being creepy yet, per se. He's not got to that tipping point.
He's flubbed up a couple of times where she says what her name is, and he's like, I know. Or like, he never asked her name because he already knows it.
Yeah, and obviously, but I think at this point, though, he's not went into creep mode yet, where he's actually got a problem as a character. It's just like, but you can see she's uncomfortable, and it makes you kind of just think about the time loop idea from the perspective of someone who's not actually the one looping, where they're not experiencing this every day. And to a point where you can almost kind of relate to the frustration of the person who is going through the time loop. And this is something that most time loop stories deal with, is the frustration of having to explain everything to everyone every single time, because you have to get them up to speed so you can continue with what you're trying to do, and so on. It's not always romantic, obviously. There can be a number of things, but so you sympathize a little bit with him in that moment, and it's like, oh, she's seen this as creepy, and maybe that's a bit unfair because obviously his experience is very different. But then when she tries to explain why she feels creeped out, and she tries to explain things, and he starts saying, no, it's perfect, I've been planning this, and I've been doing this, and I've been practicing all these little moments and doing all these little things and having do-overs.
It kind of comes off as stalkerish. Like,
it does. That's the exact word. I was thinking stalker. Because it starts to sound like he's been like monitoring her, and like, he's okay, I've got a checklist of all the things I need to do, all the boxes I need to tick, and all the things I need to say.
Yeah, if we really were meant for each other, then it would have been right the first time.
Yeah. That said, though, when he's explaining like how he had to practice a lot, and it shows you the montage of like all the different versions of him saving her from the truck, and how one's was a bit creepy because he did it too early, so she wasn't really in fear for her life yet. I have to admit, I laughed when he accidentally killed her. I thought that was kind of funny. It was kind of funny how he tries to save her and then accidentally pushes her. He's like, oh shit. Okay, that one didn't go so well. Oh well. But it has some poignant things to think about, because ultimately when she says, yeah, but this isn't the same for me, and you're telling me I've said that I love you, you're telling me that we've been together, you're telling me that you want this and this, but like
for him, she's the same person every time, but for her it's obviously like she sees him different each time.
Yeah, just depending on his interaction, like how he handles himself. Some have went better than others, but this is the first time, at least he claims, this is the first time he's actually just completely honest and tells her everything. And she's having a hard time handling it. Yeah,
and it leads to him getting frustrated, but it's more of like he doesn't really see her as alive, because she won't be here tomorrow anyway, and that's when it starts to take a really dangerous road.
That's where it ultimately goes. Even before that point, though, I think you start to feel it creeping in, where he feels kind of entitled, because he starts saying things like, man, like, you can suck the romance out of any moment, or I've put so much effort in and you still reject me. Like, there's these kind of sentiments that start to come in, this kind of what do you call it, the oh the
mean,
thing where you always feel like you're like everything's against you. Oh, the phrase.
like I don't know, like a victim.
No,
I don't know.
no, persecution complex. Thank you.
Okay,
That's what I was looking for.
got it.
But that's kind of what he ultimately kind of starts to show signs of as this is happening. And then it gets kind of interesting where, yeah, like you say, she says, I'm a human being. And he's like, well, technically, you're not here tomorrow, so there's literally no consequence for
Yeah, he goes into
anything.
like HBO Westworld mode.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically, yes, that's a good way of putting it. He almost starts to treat it like a host that he can just try again tomorrow. He can reload his save and just go from there. As bizarre as that sounds. And, it becomes this chase where he does get more maniacal and he is getting creepier. And she ultimately says, I'm going to kick your ass. And she does, punch him like, repeatedly. It's very cathartic because it's really good punches in the face. And it's borderline funny because he's not expecting it. And then when she does it a second time when he's not expecting it, it's even
he's
funnier.
He's just so overconfident.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a man, I could dominate you. But, I mean, he was just too confident and had his guard down because of it.
And ultimately, security comes in and gets him. And then there's some fun things throughout. Like, he's kind of learned about a lot of security guards. Like, one's got a hearing impairment and things, so he's making noises behind them and all that. But what I really like about the ending is that, he says, well, you're not going to remember this tomorrow, and I'm going to get to try again. And she has this kind of empowering moment. She says, well, it doesn't really matter. I'll handle myself. Like, she sort of trusts herself. And what I was saying, because we see the loop starting again. We see it starting again where he's on the street, and she's almost getting hit, and she steps back on her own, which again is also kind of like a small touch that she saves herself this time.
She just saved herself, and also she didn't really need him anyway. He just assumed that he needed her help.
Yeah. But Jordan Peele's little thing I thought really encapsulated the whole idea of the episode. He says that he's basically trapped in a prison of his own making, and I think I was already getting the metaphor of the episode and the way that he was treating his interactions with her, the way that he was kind of like feeling entitled, but also the way he was kind of trying to just perfect it based on, like, almost like he was in a video game as opposed to actually interacting with a real human being. But the idea that, on a metaphorical level, forget the actual science fiction here of the time loop and all that, he's trapped where he is in his life without someone because he can't move past that idea, that line of thinking, and treating other people like that. So that's why he's literally trapped and can't get past this day. I really like that idea, and I wouldn't have necessarily thought about that self-prison element unless Jordan Peele had said it. So I actually think his narration at the end for the first time of the whole show added to the ideas of the episode quite well. It made me rethink about it, and I'm like, oh, that's actually really good, and it just added this extra layer to the whole analogy of the whole episode.
How about that? Way to go! I'm very surprised about this episode.
I don't know.
I mean, about this review.
About this review. I don't know when was it worth sitting through 19 mostly terrible episodes. I mean 18. Sorry, 18 mostly terrible. Yeah. I mean last week wasn't bad. Last week was okay.
The little house one or the little town, that was good.
Yeah, this was better than that one, but.
Oh, I agree. Like this one, I really did enjoy watching it, and I felt like she was in danger, and I sort of empathize with Topher Grace's character, but I can also see him being like a creep. Like once we still see her as a human being because we haven't watched the time loops over and over again, which will make you, empathize with the guy who's going through the time loop normally. But because we're just focusing on her in this one day, this is the only life that she knows, the only day she'll experience, and she might get raped or murdered or, of course, we're going to empathize with her.
It's a very thought-provoking kind of spin on it, just to make you sort of think about it in a different context. And there was something I was going to say there, something that you said, but then you kept talking and I forgot what you said at the start. So I'll just have to. I've forgotten what it was.
I don't think that this is my fault.
Oh, it's not.
Don't gaslight me on this episode.
I'm not gaslighting. I'm not. all I was saying is that I forgot what point I thought of to make.
I was just kidding. I definitely do not mean that.
Thank you for
it's just a joke.
Making that clear. I know about the time loop and about how we like how he's not seeing anything from her. I think the time loop could, in that sense, almost be an analogy just for you're the only person who actually sees your whole life. You're the only person who actually experiences all the beats of your own life, and everyone else you meet, like, yeah, you get them on that day you meet them, but you don't know what their history is. So there's almost this thing where, again, he's not
They're
considering...
not just characters in your life. They have their own.
Yeah. So he's not really considering her own, like, backstory. I mean, he's considerate in the sense that he's learned about it and he's, like, using it as information, but he's not necessarily thinking of it as a series of experiences like he has his experiences. So he's on his own little bubble. Again, trapped in his own little time loop. Figuratively, and in this case, because it's the Twilight Zone, literally. Which, again, what is Twilight Zone good at? It's taking something figurative and making it literal.
Boom.
Twilight Zone.
Go.
It didn't mess it up with some stupid twist. It had a nice strong statement, a nice message that was kind of uplifting, and I choose to believe that every single day this loops, he's creating a new timeline, so all these versions of Claudia get to live on in their own version.
And they'll all be at peace.
Yes, but he doesn't get to move on. He's stuck in this day because he can't get past his own bullshit. So
yeah, and hopefully he doesn't try it on some other poor woman.
That's a good point.
I don't think he will.
It's a very good point, though. He could, if he wanted to, I suppose, just pick another victim and just start learning. Like, if he gets bored, he's like,
I think she taught him a lesson.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I got the sense that he'd learned anything, but it seemed like he was just going to keep continuing his cycle.
Well, I mean, if he is trapped being immortal in this world, yeah, maybe he would try again or something later. Eventually he's going to get bored.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting spin on the concept, and one that I can't believe I'm saying this, that this series actually had a good take on.
Wow. Big day.
Like,
it's a big day.
I didn't come into this expecting to, tell you how good it was, and we've been recording these back to back with an episode of the classic show, and this might be the first time that the new episode I might like more than the classic episode.
What?
I know it's
not even like on par.
Well, we'll talk about the classic episode in a minute, and another review that you can check out in a couple of weeks' time. But
not too dissimilar from the premise in this one. I mean, there's some common ground.
Yeah, it's not a time loop, but it's kind of funny that they just happen to match up.
Yeah.
The two episodes. No, I get what you're saying.
The episode is Shadow Plague.
Yeah, Shadow Play. Season 2, episode 20-something, Shadow Play. So, no. But Try is pretty good, and I think by far the best episode of the season, and also the series as a whole so far. Is this hope that maybe we'll get at least one good episode in season 3? That'd be nice.
You are a sucker for time loops, though.
I mean, kind of, but...
I mean, everybody is. It's such a satisfying thing to have, like, to be able to get the perfect day, to be able to reset something.
Yeah,
but
But good writing is good writing and bad writing is bad writing. I think it's just... It's almost a weird coincidence that there's just so many good examples of time loop episodes or movies working and using it. It's clearly just rich for exploring character, and this episode found a new way to do it by focusing on a different character and having their perception of it. I
also really love the episode in Discovery that had the time loop. I don't really know anything outside of...
Oh, that was the first good episode,
for how dare you?
It was. That was like episode 7 or 8 or something like that in season 1, and it was like that was the first genuinely
Madness
good
to make
episode.
the sanest man go mad. That was a great episode, and it was a time loop episode, and it was really fun.
Even though Ash Tyler was in it, and he usually degrades almost everything he's in.
It's a tall drink of water, that Ash Tyler.
I don't know where this is what, but this is what happens when an episode of this new Twilight Zone is actually good. So, yes, feel the praise, feel the strong character work, good performances, well cast. I think he's a perfect sort of like pretending to be nice, but ultimately kind of a creep. He's kind of the perfect vehicle for that. He's saying all the right things, but it's all very kind of rehearsed. And then I think Burnbury does a really good job at being strong and sweet and attractive. And I don't mean like physically, I mean like attractive in a like, as like a person, as someone who you want to see fight back against this and actually not be, So I think very well cast on both roles. So there you go.
I'll say it. She's also physically attractive.
I mean, I wasn't saying she wasn't. I wasn't, but
it's safer when I say it.
Sure, yeah, she's women aren't
She's
tall.
lovely.
They aren't tall glasses of water, or tall drinks of water. They are refreshing pitchers of water. I don't know what the equivalent is.
You just have pitch on the brain.
That was not intentional. That was not intentional. But yeah, she was in Pitch, the baseball TV show, which wasn't bad. Only lasted one season, unfortunately. But hey, that's what it is. But no, episode's good. So
Who'd have thunk?
there you go.
They gotcha.
So what's coming for the finale? And I can't. Oh, that rating!
Oh, let me see. Next, IMDb.
Oh, I'm waiting for Tara's reaction here.
Ooh, uh-oh.
So
Retro.
episode 10 is called You Might Also Like. This is the finale of the season coming next week. And we do have something we're going to replace the new Twilight Zone with after.
Ooh.
Little tease there.
I guess we'll announce it next week. Although it's already technically been announced.
Well, I don't know that's me and you. But, I mean, you can say it if you want.
Oh, George Takei is going to be in it.
Oh, I meant the announcement, not who's from Star Trek's in the next Twilight Zone episode.
There's a big cast in it, actually. We might be doing another science fiction show from the 90s.
Might?
We might. I mean, regardless of whether or not I do it, Peter's definitely doing it.
Whoa,
he's
whoa,
already
whoa,
announced it.
whoa, 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 whoa. None of this might nonsense. Tara's play. I got the okay from her to tease it before. I just want to make that clear. I said, "Is it okay for me to tease this?" And she said yes. So, we're just putting that out there. Okay, so episode 10, which does have George Takei in it, which is, a long-running tradition of Star Trek original series cast members being Twilight Zone episodes, dating all the way back to the 60s.
Something on the wing of the plane.
So, yes, here's the description. A stay-at-home housewife is looking forward to acquiring a heavily marketed device that promises to make everything better forever, but the product has an unsavory truth. We'll see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Maybe Rod Serling will come back.
There's an actress in this called Tara Pratt. It's funny to me.
Well, things that could have been.
Well, Pratt's an insult in the UK, which is why it's funny to me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you Pratt. Yes, that's a thing. Unless I'm making this up. Someone else from the UK is going to be talking about it. No, I'm sure this is an insult. I've heard this. So there you go. That is what the finale of the new season is going to be next time. So we'll see you for that. Please do liking is super important on YouTube. It lets more people find us. So go and have a look and see if you want to hit that like button. Smash it, even one might say.
I hate that.
So do I. I died out on the inside as I said it. Tara, would you like to tell everyone about Patreon?
Oh yes, I have no qualms doing that. So if you enjoy our show and our reviews, it's not a good time. If you enjoy the show and listening to us, then please check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/MalifusTV. And if you donate as low as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes of other shows that we do on the channel, including Screams After Midnight and the Atomic Cinema Experiment. And you will get bonus episodes of us reviewing B-movies and some other people reviewing stuff too. So thank you. Oh, and if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to Twilight Zone classic episodes 1 week early, and also Star Trek episodes. Yes. Thank you.
I love that there was 2 thank yous in that, because you thought you'd finished and then thought, I'll go back and do this extra bit.
Yes. Just edit out the first one.
No. So, yes, I also get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, in the Twilight Zone.